Have you ever been invited to a dinner party or a formal dinner and weren't sure of the proper etiquette? Well, etiquette expert Sharon Schweitzer is back to tell us what we need to remember. This can be such an intimidating situation. So thank you, Sharon, for coming back on our show today.
My pleasure.
And okay, of course, we've got the place settings, but that's not all we're diving into. In fact, we are going to take a look at some of the talking points that we're going to have: invitations, duties as a guest, of course, the silverware, and the tipping. Ooh, that's a good one. But first, let's dive in. Invitations. Let's hear the do's and don'ts, Sharon.
All right. When you send out an invitation as a guest, you know, we're talking about modern manners here.
Okay.
So now the trend is manners are really just like everything else. They evolve. So manners are not static. So now the trend with manners is, as a host, when you send an invitation out, you ask. You know, you ask if there are any special dietary needs. The guests need to let the host know. And the guest also is asked about that now. So the host will ask, tell me, you know, are you gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free? That's not going to be stated on the invitation, but what it will say is, please advise of special dietary needs. And it's the guest's obligation to let that host know that and do so within 24 hours. Now, sometimes you don't get back to that host within 48 or 72 hours, and that's fine. What you don't want to do is wait that long stretch of 2 weeks right before the party when the host has everything all planned.
Okay, so that's definitely a good one. And let's talk about, before you get to the party, anything you need to keep in mind as you're preparing so that you show up with your best foot forward, if you will.
Yes, you want to bring a little hostess gift. And it doesn't have to be anything really expensive. It can be something like a tea towel. It can be a diffuser. It can be a candle. You want to be careful with wine or champagne because you need to know your host or hostess really well, because they may or may not drink alcohol. So if it's an invitation to someone who's new and you don't know them that well, you're taking a risk if you bring wine or champagne if they don't drink.
I like that candle idea. And speaking of candles, something nice on a table along with the table setting. So there's our segue to dive in. This is always, you know, intimidating. You just have to do that refresher. Break it down for us, Sharon.
Well, the first thing you want to do is tell yourself, when I look at a place setting, I am driving a vehicle. And what I'm driving is a BMW. So every meal I'm driving a BMW, whether you really drive a Lexus or a Porsche or whatever else you may drive. And it's BMW. So we're going to start over here, and we're going to start with the bread plate. The bread is the B, the plate is the M, and for you vegetarians, it's meal. So it's an M, and this is the water. So it's a BMW.
Okay, simple enough. After the BMW, any other things that we want to point out to kind of help us in the etiquette world?
Yes, you always start from the outside and move in with your silverware or your utensils. So in this place setting, you would start with that outside fork and this outside knife. So you may be receiving or dining on a salad. Then you may go to the next course. And you always remember the dessert fork or the dessert spoon is up at the top of the place setting. So this would not necessarily be a soup spoon, or it wouldn't be a coffee spoon. This is for dessert.
And so let's talk, okay, dessert, and really quickly, always running out of time, we do want to point out the tipping thing. What's a good rule of thumb to remember?
The good rule of thumb to remember is you want to remember to tip. We are a tipping economy in the U.S. Many economies are not, but in the U.S. we are. And you want to tip 15 to 20% is the average in the U.S. And for really good service, people will tip more than that. There are some guidelines you can go to on my website, or any etiquette expert that's good will have a tipping guidelines on their website. And so it's very helpful to have that. You can also download a little tipping card from tipping.com and put it in your wallet. It's very helpful.
I'll say those little cheat sheets right there. Those are nice.
You can put that in your wallet or your purse, pull it out, and do the calculations. Now, some people tip before taxes and some people tip after taxes. That's a personal choice and a personal decision, and there's no right or wrong with that. You just need to make your own decision and stick with it.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. I hope you stick with the Morning Blend because you have some great tips that we really do appreciate.
Thank you.